In today's video, we are going to be installing a catch can, and it's probably pretty much the same procedure that you would do on almost any vehicle. And I want to find out, is installing a catch can actually an advantage? Does it help? So stay tuned and let's put this thing on this Equinox and see how it works. Hello again, everybody. Okay, so I have gotten a lot of comments on my videos where I address the oil burning issue with this Equinox, and a lot of people are saying that I should install a catch can. Now, why would you want to do such a thing? What is a catch can? A catch can is, well, this, and it is a sealed can, catch can, that goes in the engine compartment, and the gases from inside the engine run through this can. Now, on a vehicle with a PCV, positive crankcase ventilation system, that is where you get a lot of your oil escaping and going out the PCV valve. And when it goes out the PCV valve, it gets sucked directly back into the intake. Okay, so a PCV system helps to evacuate the buildup of pressures inside of the crankcase. Now, in the case of this vehicle, I have actually put an aftermarket PCV valve on it, and that is to keep from blowing the rear main seal on this vehicle. And these vehicles are known for that. They will blow out your rear main seal and all your oil falls on the ground and your engine locks up and it's bad things. So in order to remedy that, I put a PCV valve. The factory PCV system on this vehicle is a tiny little hole in the intake that is not enough air movement to do anything. So, and it also clogs up very easily. That is part of this too. Now, what this will do is, as the vapor is coming from your engine, from the PCV valve into here and then back out, what it will do, it goes into this chamber in which, okay, when it comes in, it goes through, there is some stainless steel, basically kind of like steel wool, basically, but like thicker, like a scrubby pad type of stainless steel. So what that does, instead of just allowing the vapor and oil and everything else to just go in and back out, what it does is it kind of dissipates, and it allows the oil to drop and fall into the bottom of the catch can here. That's why it's called a catch can, because it's catching the oil. And you don't want the oil and the sludge and all that stuff to end up inside of the intake. With the direct injection systems like we have on this, when it gets inside the engine, when the fuel gets to the engine, it is injected directly into the cylinder, so there's no fuel going across these valves. It will allow a buildup of carbon deposits on your valves, and after a while this can cause leaking valves. So the theory is that if you can catch the excess oil in this can, then it doesn't make it into the engine and it doesn't contribute to this carboning up of the valves. Now, how much truth to that there is, I'm not exactly sure, but this will at least tell us if a lot of our oil is coming out of the PCV valve. So what we're going to do, we're going to add this in line of our PCV system in this Equinox. Now, it came with a little bracket. Actually, I lost the bracket, but I wasn't going to use it anyway, because the place that I have to mount this, there's not much room under the hood here. The place I have to mount this is kind of hard to get down here and screw this off. And periodically you have to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a hole in this hose clamp, which fits over it, just like that. And I'm going to mount it with this hose clamp. That way it's held securely, but when it comes time to empty it, I can just loosen that a little, pick it up, and then I can screw this off very easily. So this little kit, I'll put the price up on the screen. I can't remember how much it was, but it'll probably change. I'll put a link in the description for this particular catch can. You can use any of them that you want. They're all pretty much the same thing, but that will let you know where you can find it. This one comes with a little breather if you want to put that on top right there. I want mine sealed up. It also comes with more fittings for different sizes of hoses and a little roll of thread tape in there as well, and hose clamps. I'm going to mount this under the hood here. In order to do that, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to put a screw through this clamp to screw it onto the radiator support. In order to get a screw through there, I think it will just burn up my little self-tapper here. So that is the purpose of the grinder. I'm going to grind a little groove in here so I can put the screw through there, and it also gives me a little bit of adjustment if I need to adjust it either way. I think about right here is where I'm wanting it. So let's just put a screw in here. Okay, so, oh yeah, one thing, if you're going to attach something, make sure, if you're going to put screws through something, make sure you feel in there, make sure there is nothing behind where you're screwing into, because you could screw into wires, fuel lines, anything. Not right here probably, but somewhere in your vehicle, if you're just screwing randomly into a spot, you could hit anything. So always check what's behind here. And I think I want the screw facing that way, yeah. So now, when I put the oil catch can in there, like that, I can tighten it up. Okay, so here we go. We have our lines. This one is actually going to the intake. This is our vacuum line. This one is coming from the oil cap here, where I've got my PCV. Now, if you are doing this and you don't have these modifications, then you would want to take it off here. And you'd want to take this off. Now, if it were me and I was doing it with this, I would want to use this, cut this off, and put your hose onto there, and then just stick your other end of the hose onto that. But I would try to get a piece out of a junkyard or something so you can save this one for if you ever want to go back to not having the catch can. But in our case, we have a dedicated PCV system that I have put in this. I will put a link in one of the corners up here showing when I put this PCV valve in. That's what I like. I like to have the PCV valve. You can get one to put in here, but either way, this line gets clogged with oil, water, and all that kind of stuff. That is what blows, that or the little pinhole in the intake is what blows your rear main seal. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of having a dedicated PCV. But what we're going to do is we are going to put this in. Now, okay, you can see it is marked out on that side, in on this side. Now, in is going to be your PCV valve coming Okay, so here is my catch can. You can see it just goes down into the hose clamp. I don't have it tightened yet, but here is your line from the PCV valve over here. Wherever your PCV valve is, that's where it will run from. Get that out of the way. That's where the hose will run from, and it will run to your oil catch can on the in side. And then from the out side, you will run to your original manifold vacuum or wherever your original PCV ran to. So, in your case, if you have this same exact vehicle, you will be tying into these two lines. The in will be hooked on right here to your original line. You can cut this plastic line, get another one, or whatever you have to do. If you cut the plastic line here and here, for this, I would just pull the hose completely off of this fitting and just hook this hose straight up and straight to the end. This from out, it should fit over this little, it's got a little lip right here. If you cut this right here, or maybe even a little farther down, and then slide your hose over it, it should fit right on there. If you have to, you can put a hose clamp on it. But okay, so that has our oil catch can all hooked up. Okay, so to tighten it up, there we go, and it is held on. Now, every now and then, I just need to come over here, or come out here, and I check my oil all the time in this vehicle anyway. So while I'm doing that, unscrew this little dipstick, pull it out, and since it's black, I may have to do something like that and see if it's wet on the bottom. I may eventually paint this silver, or else just take sandpaper and just sand the black paint off of it. But yeah, that has it hooked up. Alright, so now we have our oil catch can hooked up in the vehicle. Now the next step is going to be to just drive it. I'm going to drive it normally, driving it back and forth to work, to the grocery store, wherever I drive it, and I am going to monitor the oil usage. Now, to keep up with how it all goes, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and hit the notification, and you'll be notified whenever I put up another video. That way you can keep up with this little experiment here. I'm also going to have another video coming up really soon where I'm going to install this little gauge cluster. One thing, well, I guess a couple of gauges that this car does not have, it does not have an oil pressure gauge. That is a very bad oversight on this car. You need an oil pressure gauge. It does have a light which works off of an oil pressure switch, which is where we're going to tap into. But it needs an oil pressure gauge because you need to know exactly how much pressure you have, because if it drops too low, then you have engine damage, and possibly would have engine damage, probably would have engine damage before your little low oil pressure light would come on. So also having a gauge will allow you to monitor if your pressure is dropping. Also, this has a voltage gauge on it too, right here, and this will allow us to make sure that our alternator is working properly. Now, one thing that it has in here that I'm not going to hook up, I'm going to leave it in there because I don't want to have it just an empty slot, but it has a temperature gauge in the middle. Now, I don't need that because this car does actually have a temperature gauge. Now, what other gauge in this style, leave in the comments below, what other gauge in this style could I use to replace this temperature gauge? The only gauges I have on the dash are RPM, speed, temperature, and fuel. There are no other gauges. What gauges would you suggest that I would get to put in that would help us to monitor the health of our engine? Just leave me a comment below and let me know which gauge you think I should replace this one with. guess that's going to be about all for this video. I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one.